vlogsters, how are you this morning? Figured I'd just pick up the phone, have my first sip of coffee with you, in case you didn't know it was coffee. That first sip is so amazing sometimes. This morning was one of those mornings that I got up really early. We didn't talk yesterday, and it's really funny because I realized something. I feel good today, so that's why I wanted to specifically vlog today. But I realized something last night. I pick up the camera on days when I need to talk stuff out. I do it with you because I feel like we're friends. I pick up the camera on days where I don't know if I feel physically capable of doing other things or whatever. But I realized that the days that I feel fantastic, or if I had like the most energy, I don't share it with you because I'm doing stuff. Oh, I know that sounds crazy. But the night before last, let me take another sip because I need a sip. The day before yesterday, let's start there. The day before yesterday was a fairly productive day during the daytime. And then at night, I made dinner. Actually, the day before yesterday, we had breakfast. I made like big breakfast, biscuits, and the whole bit. Then the night before last, I felt like really bad. I had forced myself. I know that sounds crazy because I know you should fast. Certain people can fast or whatever, but I really feel like on my medications, I need to eat certain foods or certain times of the day or whatever. I don't know how true that is, but I had like turkey roll-ups. So I took 4 slices of turkey and 2 slices of cheese, and I did like turkey roll-ups because it was really all I could muster to do. Pull 4 pieces of turkey out of the package and pull 2 slices of cheese. And I ate that, and then I realized that I didn't really eat. I had breakfast, and then I had that, and then nothing else during the night or whatever. And Jimmy came home, and I said, honey, I just don't really feel good. If you want something, I can make it for you or whatever. He's like, no. He's like, don't be silly. He's like, I can make it. I can make whatever. And I think he ended up having leftover rice-a-roni that he made. So I'm just trying to find alcohol swabs. I feel like I have a ton of them back here, and I can't find any of them right now. Give me 1 second. Because I kind of wanted to work on this. Where did I put them? Oh, here. Okay, I did shove them back a little too far. I guess when I put the paper, I put all my paper scraps. I was pushing back a little far. Sorry. That's what happens sometimes when you talk to friends while they're working, right? You get distracted. Oh, don't stick the sandpaper in there on accident. That's not the same. Okay, there we go. Let me do that. All right. I just have an empty candle jar. When I took the top off, there's all this glue, so I just wanted to unglue it. While I figured I could do that while I talk to you guys. I have Goo Gone somewhere. I know where it is. I'm just choosing to use this. So anyway, I wasn't feeling good at all, and I went to bed relatively early after he got home. Yeah, there's just days sometimes where, can't tell you if it's the weather or if I overdid it or if I didn't do enough. I'm sure you guys are like that. I'm sure many of you have the same. I know many of you have the same issues because we talk about them. But, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let the alcohol sit on there. I'm going to get the Goo Gone probably because it's really sticky. Anyway, I know a lot of you have the same things because we talk about it a lot. But I feel like if it wasn't hormonal, like, my sister and I were just talking about, like, menopause and early stages, and you still get PMS and DMS almost, except you're not actually having a menstrual cycle, but you have, like, what feels like the same hormone fluctuations and attitudes and moods and stuff. But when the reason I say that is because for me, it has always been actually, it's not always been, it's been since I started diabetes medication, basically since I was diagnosed with diabetes. When like the day before my period, I feel like I got run over by a Mack truck. Now, it is 100% possible that I felt somewhat that way before like diabetes, but I mean, I got diagnosed when I was 40. And so things change, your hormones change and your body changes and your lifestyle changes and stuff. So it is possible that I just never recognized it. Well, I'm not going to medical terms you guy, but I basically, because I'm overweight, I didn't get regular periods. At least that's what my gynecologist told me. Now that I'm older and I'm learning more stuff, it could have been the other way around. But yeah, good medical care it's a great thing to find when you can find it. Anyhow, I feel like I get run over, and then the next day I'm usually like, now when I was getting my period, the first day, I'm usually like, I was joking, I say it's nesting, it's like, I can't clean enough, nothing's clean enough for me, nothing's organized enough for me, stuff needs to be out of my space and my face. And then the next, then the subsequent days during my cycle, I would get like crampy and be ibuprofen and the whole thing kind of thing. Anyway, this is a whole lot of story to tell you a little bit of story, right? So yesterday was the day where I had a ton of energy. I did, you name it. And I kind of was like, I should have put up the camera. Because I've shared with you cleaning with limitations videos before, like how do I clean if I'm only going to get that day of energy once a month, I can't only clean once a month. So I've always made videos like how do you clean the rest of the time, but I feel like I probably should have like picked up the camera so you guys could see like what a wild woman I am sometimes. I had a couple of things happening lately comment-wise, and there's nothing to address because I'm not going to address I want you to know, as long as it's just affected me, I don't really address it. It's when I see it in, like, you guys getting all affected in the comments, and that's when I usually step in. I guess the answer to that is don't read the comments, right? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. So one of the things that somebody said is like, she acts like you act like you're disabled, but you're not. And I'm like, I don't act like I'm disabled. At least I hope I don't act like I'm disabled. I'm not. So I have limitations. I can't kneel anymore. I can't squat anymore. I can basically I can't get to the bottom third of any of my the bottom of any of my cabinets or drawers unless they have tall things in them. Actually, it's not true. I can get in the bottom drawers. Because I can reach the stuff in there. The bottom drawer is usually off the ground like that much anyway, but you know what I mean? I'm like, I can't get into the backs of cabinets and stuff like that, which was one of the major reasons for doing the pantry remake over, because what we used to have for a pantry, I couldn't access like the bottom shelf except the front, like wherever he kept syrup. Anything in the back was like extra food. It might as well have been in China. It really might as well have been in China. The way we did the pantry, the things that are in the back that I cannot reach are like when we need to fill the flour container or stuff like that. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm trying to talk to the people. No. No. Try to talk to the people. Blue jays are loud. I think that was a blue jay because they're loud. All right, listen, mister. Or missy. Where are you? She sounds like she's right outside the window, doesn't she? I'm just going to keep talking. So the things that we, I rarely access or need to access are in the back bottom corner, which is fine. Also the top right corner because I'm short. I'm vertically challenged. I'm actually not. It's kind of a joke with my family because I'm 5'7", or I'm 5'6" and 3/4. I always own that 1/4 inch. And 5'7" is the average, well, it was in 2010. I don't know if it is still today, but 5'7" is the average height of women in the United States. So I'm average. But other than my sister Julie, who's 5'5", my whole family's above average in the height range. My sisters are 5'9", 5'11". My brothers are 6 foot and 6'1", and my father was 6'2", or my father was 6'3". My father was 6'3". I think my brothers' heights have changed because they can't, either one of them, stand up straight. That's a whole nother story. Never really talked about my brothers much, so I'm average, but it's still hard, like, to reach top shelves and stuff. Especially when we added that additional shelf. It's a little higher than the last one was. But I just love my new pantry. I don't have to rely on him for any help, which is such a huge thing. I don't even know if you all know that. Like, I realized with that comment, basically, came thoughts, not negative thoughts at all, trust me. They came thoughts like, you guys don't know me. Like, I mean, I guess you know me in a way. I don't know, that doesn't. But you don't know me, or you didn't know me when I was doing it all. Like, doing it all. Like, playing softball, playing volleyball, marching in the band, teaching. Teaching religious education, teaching catechism. I taught catechism for 15 years. That's like a big part of my life. Dancing. I realized you never even saw me dance. I don't know if I can get my hands on any video of me dancing. But I definitely have photographs of me dancing. But that doesn't really show you anything. It just shows you me standing with a funky face and a... But, working outside of the home. You guys, don't any know that about me at all. And I always said I started working when I was 11 because I got my first official paid babysitting job and a regular babysitting job. Friends of my sisters, they used to bowl in the league together, and I used to go over and watch their daughter every Wednesday while they went bowling. So, it wasn't like, I didn't know at the time. I know now that, or maybe it wasn't even a rule back in 1981. Excuse me. That you had to be 12. You couldn't leave your minor, child under 12 with with anybody less than 12. But anyhow, I realized you guys really don't know me. I mean, you know me now, and you know me from what I tell you. But you don't even get an opportunity to see me in a 24-hour period. I did do a day in my life video way back when. If you're interested in that, I have videos like that. I think they're in my vlog playlist and on my channel playlist. But a day in the life I did was in 2017. So it was sort of like still 3 years ago already. And, things are mostly the same, but some different. I have mentioned that I don't shower every day because my skin can't handle it. Neither can my hair. We call it spot cleaning. But I did a day in the life on a day when I take a shower. And it's funny because since I live with Mom, I've always taken a shower right before bed. I love to, like, wash my sheets, make the bed, jump in the shower, and get into a clean bed with a clean body. That's like one of my favorite activities. Self-care activities, I should say. But mom doesn't really want me, like, she would care, she wouldn't, oh, okay, how do I say this? Yeah, she doesn't care for me to shower after, like, run the water after 10 o'clock at night. So I have learned to shower during the day, and I have showered during the day before. It's not like whatever, but I'm not the kind of person who gets like a shower to wake you up. My shower calms me down and puts me to sleep. Anyhow, so the day in the life that I shared was on shower day. But you know, every day is different. Some days it's like I had a meal planned and a meal prepped, and I wake up and I can't get off the couch, or I unload the dishwasher and then that's it for the day. Like, it depends on the day and my body and how my body wants to react. One of the reasons that I love Mary Fry is because she too finds joy in just the littlest, like being able to cook for your family. The day that you feel good and you're able to cook for your family. It's like a joyful moment. It's a joyful day. You know, I'm feeling really good and I'm not sad, but I'm thinking I want to cry right now, but it's just that you can, they're happy tears though. You know, the joy of taking care of your family. You know, I am blessed that I got to have that joy. My mother died when I was 21, and my father died just before I turned 40, and I had my knee surgery when I was 41. So 20 solid years of taking care of my family. Now, my father was a huge part of that because he was the cook. So after my mom died, he retired when I was 28. He got forced retirement when he was 59, 60. Before he turned 60. So he had like 2.5 years of living off of savings and of me supporting the family. So he was, for that years, you know, between 91 and 98, I, you know, did the cooking and the cleaning because I was home during the day. Actually, that's not true. Not every year. When I was a nursery school teacher, those few years I was at nursery school, I worked during the day. But when my brother was in high school, so halfway, yeah, because then I started working at AHRC, and I had training during the day, but I mostly worked nights and weekends. So I worked at the nursery school during the day, I worked at AHRC on the weekends, I babysat at night. I almost feel like I was home to get him home from school, make dinner, and then just like, see ya. But it's what you had to do. I did what I had to do, and that's fine. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being able to be, like, I think the way my dad raised us to all be fiscally secure as best as we can, or at least be trying, like at least be doing it. If your job's not paying you what you think you're worth is one thing, or if, you know, but at least be out there earning, you know, like that was really ingrained in us. That's probably why I was so focused on starting this, because I had gone, at that point, April to December. So I had gone 8 months without working outside of the home. I mean, I put together a huge big garage sale. I drove, like, took care of people, driving them to and for money or whatever, but really, I never kept the money. But Jimmy at that time was the breadwinner. He was working. He found 2 jobs and I didn't find any. But anyway, it was really hard. It was really hard. And that's one of the things that's funny, because I was thinking about, I almost was going to write everything I wanted to talk about today down, because there's a couple of points that a couple of things I wanted to point out. And I know most of you know this, so it's just for those people, either you're new to my channel, or you have a preconceived notion of me, or you've only heard bad things about me, or whatever, and that's fine. But what really it is I wanted to tell you that it has taken me, no joke, legit, years to ask for help. And I mean that 100% sincerely. I have always been, before the last 5 years, perhaps, actually, it might even be a little longer. I know, I'm going to say just about as long as we've lived here, maybe just a year after we lived here, so about 5 years. I've always been extremely independent. It's funny because one of the things that I don't know that everybody realizes is there's been a couple of times in our marriage where Jim has just needed to like get away and escape, and that's fine. So I love my husband with all of my heart. He is the second most important. Jesus is first, then Jim, you know. But I can also live without him, and I've proven that before. I don't want to. It's not my favorite, but I can do it. And I don't mean just survive. I mean like live. Like, as a matter of fact, and this is not against my husband, but he doesn't really care for many social situations. So like the times where he wasn't living with me, I would just be like visiting my friends and family and such, stop by and say hi and just do, and stop for dinner, and I brought you food, and I, you know, whatever it is, I just become like this, like extra social butterfly. I know that was a big part of after my father passed away. I guess a couple of months after my father passed away, we didn't know what my housing situation was going to be, because we really couldn't afford to live there with rent and like elevated car, and like everything's expensive on Long Island. It's not just the housing situation. Gas is more expensive. Car insurance is more expensive. Life insurance is more expensive. Groceries, milk, because the gas, it's kind of like goes hand in hand. So because the gas is more expensive, it costs more money for them to get the milk to the dairy to your house. And because they have to pay the workers more money because the higher cost of living there, then it makes all the groceries more expensive. Like, really, it just snowballs. Excuse me. So we were like, no, I don't know if we're going to be able to stay here. So Jim moved here because we knew we wanted to come here. He came here to try to look for a house, a place to live, a job, something where we could like transfer over a little bit. And the thing that stuck us was then when my dad was sick, we took care of him. We racked up some debt, mainly because like it wasn't from like overspending like you guys think I do now. It was literally from just like medical bills and like higher cost of living, and you know, he was on Social Security, but Social Security he got was based on like all of his pay from like over the course of his entire work career. It's weird how they do that, but it's so true. But you think about it, like, you know, my dad's been working since 1948. I'm sure he wasn't on the payroll when he was 10, but he's been working since the 1950s, and you know, they base it on all of that stuff. So he wasn't getting like a ton of Social Security. He wasn't, he didn't have much savings left after he was forced retire. He pretty much used up all his savings to live that 2.5 years on top of what I was earning and stuff. Because I had 3 jobs, but I wasn't making like a ton of money. I was doing okay. I was getting by, let's put it that way. we were managing. But he still, like, whenever my brother was going to a private school, and that was one of the things that I thought was really important. I don't think the public school system did me and two of my sisters any justice. Now, I'm not saying it hasn't improved since then, and I'm sure it has. But we basically were a family that fell through the cracks because my parents were proud, and I don't mean in the negative sense necessarily, but they were too proud to ask for help. They didn't know that help was there because they didn't ask for it. I know that sounds dumb, and it sounds like a sort of catch-22, but it kind of is. Not everybody knows what type of help is out there. And especially back in the 70s and 80s, you know, you didn't know what type of help was there because it's not prevalent like it is now. Now it's like, you know, oh, you don't have good, you know, the kid, I've told you guys about starving at lunchtime. Nowadays, you see a kid, no food, you go and say, let's get this kid some food, because you know how important it is. And I feel like it wasn't just my generation, but the previous generations before now that obviously did the stuff like we did, eating our lunch out of like leftovers from other kids or falling asleep in class because we didn't have breakfast, is what triggered the nutrition consciousness of children in the United States. So anyhow, it's a good vlog, right? Where was I going? Oh, the fact that I was independent. Right. Okay. So, when Jim moved here, he, you know, he found a job. It wasn't paying very well. So what the thought was that we would live apart for at least a year while I paid off my debt. If my, you know, my family situation worked out, we would see, like, we weren't sure what was happening. My father's estate, and everything was like up in the air or whatever. But he was here for over 6 months, and you know, I missed him. He came, we had celebrated our 10th anniversary that year, and Mom gave him money to come home for his anniversary. So he came home for, I want to say it wasn't even a week. It was just a handful of days, and it was really nice. And then he went back, and then he finally came home when we realized that the housing situation was straight. His job situation here wasn't improving. His life here wasn't improving. So we stayed there. We stayed in New York. I got a job. So he came home in October, and I started at the group home in April. So about 6 months of living at the house. He got a job around town. And then 6 months of living in the house, I went to go back to the group home. I found out the opening at the group home, the live-in position was open again. And I was like, okay. Since I was so unsure about my living situation, was really the whole catch was my living situation, of being able to afford to pay any rent or any help towards utilities or whatever. I took the job at the group home. Now, what I thought the benefit of this would be was I would be using less utilities at the house and paying, you know, using up less resources. But I was home on the weekends and then on vacation. And of course, when I hurt myself dancing at the Christian rock concert. And after my surgery for 14 weeks, I was home. But while we were home, we sort of had an unwritten agreement with my brother that while we weren't, it was a 2-story house, my brother lives upstairs. So while we weren't paying rent, we were fixing up the downstairs so it would become rentable. So I laid all new, just vinyl peel and stick floor. But when I was growing up, we had hardwoods and my parents didn't take care of them. And I know they did the best that they could. They really did. They had a lot of mouths and no money coming in. They really did the best they could. But, so the floors got messed up, and I had, you know, it's funny, everybody loves an open concept, and I just want doors. It's so weird how you grow up one way and, you know, you just want the opposite. But We had what was called a 6/6, but basically you walked in the front hallway. The door was on the left side of the house. And then you opened up into the living room, and then it was like attached to the dining room. And then there was a half wall here with a doorway. And then between the dining room and the kitchen was just like a pony wall, which is like a half wall. Sorry, not a half wall. There was a section of wall with a doorway. And then around the dining room was a half wall. And when we were growing up the whole time, the kitchen had one flooring, the dining room had one flooring, the living room had another flooring, and the hallway had another flooring. Really, I'm not kidding. And these were all one connected space, including the back hallway. And then the back hallway, the kitchen went from the back hallway back to the bedrooms and stuff. Now, they all had doors, so that made it different in my eye. Well, not just my eye, in the in the design element. They had doors to separate the rooms. So one of the first things that we did was we laid all new floors. Again, they were just peel and stick vinyl. It was too big of a project for us to rip up all the hardwood, so I did repair the patches and the cracks, and did the leveling and everything. But we basically put one continuous floor. We actually did that. We did that before my father passed away. We did that before my father went into the nursing home, actually. A couple of things we did before my father went into the nursing home was we laid all new floors. We painted the kitchen cabinets, and we fixed the counter. We fixed the cabinet, but we didn't fix the countertop yet. But anyway, so we did the guest room. I fabric covered the walls in the guest room with this beautiful green ticking with a coordinating green fabric. It was just really nice. And we were just working on it slowly. We started working on the bathroom. Just doing whatever we could to make the house more like a rentable space. So, obviously, if you guys know my story, you know that the flood washed that all away anyway. But that's what we were doing. So we knew that we got the apartment, that would really help us push the rest of the house stuff forward, because we had my dad's bedroom after he passed became sort of like the storage room. Why is this so bright? You guys see me so bright? It doesn't. Oh, it's not even that. It's me. I'm just bright. I'm very white today. Sorry. It's literally like I'm noticing it, so that's how bad it is. Anyway, my dad's room had become like the storage room for okay, so when we would redo a room, we would pack everything up in totes and put it in there. So then when we got the apartment, not only did some of the stuff get unpacked because we used it at the apartment, but then we were able to, the apartment was just a 1-bedroom living room area. Like, it had a living room area that when we first got the job, the apartment was brand new. It had a kitchen that was, no joke, an apartment-sized stove, which is like this big, not even as wide as I am, this much counter, this much sink, and then this much counter. That was it. It had 2 cabinets under the sink. It was a stove and oven, and it had 3 cabinets above one of them was like the range one, right? And 2, like, basically you had 2 cabinets plus the one above the range, and then 2 cabinets under the sink. That was it. This much counter, this much counter. It was very creative. We did a lot of really creative things there. And I think that's one of those things people are like, how do you know how to decorate a small space? I lived in a small space. When we got the job at the group home. It was even smaller than my house. So we found this really cool cabinet at Home Depot. And it was this really great red color. And if you've ever seen the shelf that sits on the wall behind me when I'm in the kitchen, it was that color. So then me and my dad, I found that piece in the garbage. We brought it home, cleaned it, matched the color red of the cabinet. And I used that to store all my dishes, because the only cabinet that I had above the sink, like, where was I putting food? Where was I putting all my glasses? Where was I putting all my coffee cups? Where was everything going? So we made it work, but we bought this little cabinet and it had a drawer, because there was no drawers. So where do you put your silverware? That's another thing altogether. So it was a really creative use of the space. Actually, I'm going to see if I have pictures. I wonder if I can get my hands on pictures, because I could share them with you if I can. And then in the living room space, we put like a round eating table, like when you first walked in on the left, so we had a place to sit and eat. We had a couch tucked in this corner that you could tell used to be a closet. And then we had our TV over on the right and a desk space for us to work, Jimmy to work on the computer and whatever. And then in the back was the bathroom, this midget closet, and I don't need to use the word midget like in a derogatory term, and it's not about little people, like that's the word. So the closet was this tall. It was a sloped ceiling, so it was like the door was only up to here. It was a fireproof door that they had to cut down, which is so weird. And that's where we ended up putting everything. We got these, it had a shelf about midline, which of course was low because midline was short. And we had these like 2-tiered silver like tray racks. We had 3 of them that we got from the Home Depot. And that's where we put like all of our pantry items. Basically the right side was our pantry and the left side was toolbox, linens. Actually, we had a drawer for linens. So it was a toolbox, light bulbs, you know, it's just like your everyday other stuff that you, cleaning supplies, all that stuff that you put over there. Underneath it, we had one of those plastic drawer systems. We had to take the wheels off because it wouldn't fit under the shelf with the wheels. And that's where we kept like our linens. Extra dish towels was like, top one was dish towels and washcloths. The next one was towels, and the bottom one was like the extra set of sheets or whatever. So we made it work, but it was small. But when we went back, that was what it looked like when we first got the job. When we went back to work the second time, we set the living room space up as like every space. So we put our bedroom in there, had a couch. The group home actually got new furniture, and I took the coffee table and side table from their old living room and I stacked them on top of each other to make like an entertainment center. And actually the couch that we had there was actually the couch from the basement of the group home. They have very specific guidelines of how the furniture can be at the group homes and stuff, safety wise, whatever. So they throw out what we would consider to be perfectly good furniture, but the green wingback chair that I had, it was at the day hab. When the inspector came, she noticed that because it was up against the wall, like the back had like come away from the edging had come away. And she was like, why does this look like this? And I was like, oh, I don't know. It used to be up against the wall. And then by the time she came, it was actually backed up against the window. She goes, why does this look like this? And I was like, oh, we had it against the wall. And when the guys sit on it, they plop. And she's like, well, you need to get a new one. And I was like, oh, all right. So we got a new one and I wasn't throwing it out. And I talked to my site coordinator at the time and she didn't want it. So I was like, thank you. I got a new chair because then we got a new couch. We had to get a new couch because the couch wasn't up to their standards. So I gave the couch to my sister because the agency didn't want it anymore. I mean, that's what we were fortunate enough to do. At my house, we got these chairs from the day program that were perfectly good in our eyes. And they were very strong, sturdy chairs. But according to the agency, they were not good. So anyway, so then what we did was we used our bedroom for storage. So what we were doing was we were taking the stuff over the course. I got the job in April of 2011. So over the course of, by the time we got settled, say it was June to November, we started bringing stuff from the house to store at the group home and started working on the house. And then sister was dancing at a Christian rock concert and tore her meniscus and was laid up until February. It was 14 weeks. So it was November 2nd. Was the concert. My surgery was November 7th. And 14 weeks from that is when I was able to go back to work. So, actually, it's funny because 12 weeks is like, FMLA is only 12 weeks. And they were like ready to give my job away. I had to get a note from my infectious disease doctor that I couldn't go back to work for the 14 weeks because I could die. They literally, like, they only extend the FMLA for life or death situations. And I had to get the note from my doctor being like, yes, she's on this antibiotic so she doesn't have endocarditis, which will kill her. It was sort of like that. But I was able to go to the Christmas party, which was fun. I got to sit in the corner with my IV bag, my PICC line all infused and everything. But anyhow, okay. So when we were at the group home, we used that room for storage. Then my knee surgery, then I was out of commission till like February or April of 2012. Then, so for the next, say it was April 2012 till October of 2012, for the next 6 months, we continued to work on improving the house at 481. I got appliance paint, I stripped wallpaper, I re-wallpapered, we painted. Then, and only then, Superstorm Sandy basically just was like, whoosh. And all my hard work. It's okay though. I mean, life is life, and I wouldn't be here without it, and it's all in his plan, and it's all in his hands. So it worked out the way it was supposed to work out. I desperately miss my family. Desperately miss my family. But I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. In fact, when my sister told me that, I was like, sure, that's where I'm supposed to be. But anyhow, so all of that whole story oh my goodness, that whole story started from me telling you about being fiercely independent while Jim was here for the 6 months he was here. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, so funny. You know, I just realized this very second. There's a lot of like overlaps in time for those years. So the 6 months that I was home, I was fiercely independent and productive. I went and got my external high school diploma, which is basically, I graduated from high school in 2010 because I went back to high school. I did it in a record 2.5 months. And I say record, I'm not trying to exaggerate, but that's what she told me. I turned 40. Walked my first 5K. Took photography the next year. No, that year. Turned 40, graduated from high school. Had my 10-year anniversary. I did all of that, like, on my own. Like, my husband wasn't with me when I celebrated my 40th birthday. It is not a sore spot. It is what it is. It's what we needed for our family. My mother-in-law ensured that we were together for our anniversary, but it wasn't that important that I was with him for my 40th birthday. So my 40th birthday wasn't with bells and whistles, which is probably why I want to have a 50th birthday with bells and whistles. Yeah, so it's just a weird overlap in time, because then he came home like at the end of October. The knee surgery was at the so he came home the end of October. He started back to work in like November 2nd. And then the following year, November 2nd, was the rock concert that I hurt myself at. And the following year, November 2nd, was the year that I went back to the house after the hurricane. Who knew November 2nd was going to be so poignant for me? Really didn't, actually, to be honest with you. It's kind of like my father passed away on Garth Brooks' birthday. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, Dad. Could have picked any other day. I'm just kidding. I gotta laugh. But anyhow, so it's been really hard now to come back. So it's sort of like the story goes like this, and then it 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 comes back like this, like this, like this, and now we're back to the... It was really hard up until the last few years for me to ask for help. During my recovery, I never said, Jimmy, you know you're going to have to help me when I get home. He just stepped up. He stepped up and he took it on. And, you know, I get I get a few people who will say to me, like, he gives you such grief. You're not really happy. Why are you still with him? And I guess it's because all I was doing for a long time was just, like, taking the opportunity to talk to people and to vent my problems, because I wasn't able to work them out by myself. So I was venting them to people. So all people saw were the negative things. But I have mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. My husband has some problems, but he steps right the F up when it is needed. When my father passed away, he was a rock star. And it wasn't until after, I guess like a few days after the funeral and everything. Actually, it was probably not even a few days, probably the next day, but that time always seems like. I looked over at him and I said, thank you for everything you've done for me this past week. And then he's like, of course. And I looked over at him and I realized that he just lost his second dad. And one of the things I knew that he'd always struggled with was losing his dad. And just like my brothers and sisters, he didn't get to say goodbye. But unlike my brothers and sisters, Jim spent a good part of 10 years every day with my dad. When I was at the group home, Jimmy, part of the time I was working at the group home the first time, I took the job because my father had was home during the day and I was not seeing him. I was working at night. He was home during the day. He'd go to bed at 6 o'clock. Like, I was working during the day. I never got to see him. I worked till 3:30. I'd come home, we'd eat dinner, and then he'd be in bed. Because he was a fisherman, and those were the hours he kept. So I finally decided, like, when the opportunity arose, I would take the job at the group home. Because in the group home, I could work till, at the time it was 9 o'clock in the morning. And then I could work in the evening again. So I worked from 6 to 9, and then I worked from 6 to 11. And then I slept from 11 to 6. Like, that was my shift. And then what I would do is I'd go home every day. I'd go home every morning. And I'd spend the day with him where he needed it. This was actually even before he got sick. I took the job in February, so he was home because it wasn't fishing season. But I knew that, you know, I would be home more. And my brother came home to live back in the house, and I was like, well, this will be perfect because he'll be there at night. So my dad's not alone, because my dad didn't want to be alone. So, part of that year, 1 year of that time, Jim worked at Target, and he worked during the day. But the whole rest of the time, he lived and really worked in Island Park. He would come home. He would come back to the group home with me if he had like 2 days off. So if it was his weekend from the grocery store and it was my midweek at the group home, he would come home with me and spend the day there and whatever. Just to get away from all the work at the house. And then home on the weekends. My weekends, I would be at the home and I would be with Jim then, or I'd be with Jim during the day or whatever. If he wasn't working till that late in the afternoon or whatever. But Jim was home with my dad. Like Jim, my brother, when we moved back to, after my dad got sick, I stopped working at the group home and I moved back home full time. My brother moved to Brooklyn. And Jim, yeah, we were there every day and taking care of him and whatever he needed. And, you know, just, we took care of each other. He took care of me. I took care of him. Jim took care of us. We took care of Jim. Like, it was just a very, you know, I don't know. I guess that's what you do when it's family. I don't really think twice about it. But anyhow, I looked at him and I realized that he had lost his second father. And it took me a minute because he was so strong for me. He really just wanted to be there for me, to help me through it, that I feel like I didn't even, unfairly, sorry about that, unfairly, I feel like I wasn't even rightfully there for him. Hi. Speak of the devil.
I took too long. I just couldn't stop talking.
Oh, what time is it? I haven't stopped talking. It's an hour.
It's almost noon.
My vlog is almost an hour, so I'm gonna...
Yeah. Mine's like 41 minutes long.
Yeah, okay. Oh, let me wrap it up.
Yep. Take time. I can start with fish and chips.
Are you cooking now? It's a little early, don't you think? What time is it?
Almost 12. It's like 11:51.
Oh, okay.
So
you know, there's a bag open of fish, and okay, I wasn't sure if you knew.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're okay. So I felt really bad because he was there for me and I didn't get to be there for him. And I guess, you know, that was bad on my part, and I was feeling 100%, and I wasn't feeling selfish necessarily. As far as the two of us was concerned, it was very selfish, but obviously I was more concerned about my brothers and sisters too at the time, my nieces and nephews, and how they were all going to deal. But anyhow, so that's my story in a nutshell. You guys like long vlogs, right? Just grab your favorite cup of coffee. Yeah. So let's get back to the beginning of the story where I started to tell you about feeling fiercely independent. And that's the part. So it's taken me a lot of years to actually ask for help. And now it's funny because I feel like that's all you see. Part of what turns people off is that they see Jimmy doing everything and me doing nothing. Well, we've addressed that before. First of all, I don't film myself doing anything unless it's specifically to show you how I clean the bathroom or how I clean the counter or how I load the dishwasher, which was going to be the topic of today's vlog, by the way, but that's another story altogether. Unless I'm filming a specific task that I'm showing you how to do, you know, you watch me vlog, you watch me haul stuff, he's putting stuff away, that's on him, I didn't ask him to do that, that's his thing, whatever. When I'm in front of the camera, I'm usually stuck in the legs of a tripod. But plus he does do things for me, but I do things for him too. You just don't get to see them because usually I'm not recording them. I guess it's the same thing like when people talk about friend mail and everybody's generosity, and I'm always thankful for everybody's generosity. And then there's that few, every once in a while, somebody's got to come in with a remark about like me paying it forward. Well, no, I'm not going to show you me pay it forward because that's hubris, and I'm not like that. I'm not, you know, if I tell you that I'm going to give forward. If somebody gives me a bunch of craft stuff and I go through it and I say I'm going to forward the stuff to my friend or pass on whatever I can't use, I'm not bragging that I'm donating stuff. I'm just letting the person know who sent me all the stuff that thank you for everything. Whatever I can't use will not go in the garbage. It's pretty much how that means to me. But I don't share my charity, and I don't share my donations, and I don't share what I do for other people because I wasn't raised that way. So just because you don't see me paying it forward doesn't mean I'm not paying it forward. Just because you're not with me in McDonald's when I'm paying for the people behind me doesn't mean I'm not paying for the people behind me. You know, you don't see everything, but that's with intent. I don't intend to share my good works. I guess it's along the same lines. That's what I was saying. Along the same lines of like, I don't show you everything that I do for him. Feel totally blessed to have him as my husband, but I don't, you know, I'd rather show you all the stuff he does for me because he's a good person or whatever. But I don't share everything that I do for him. First of all, he don't even know half the time. So yesterday we were about to have a storm, and I said this before, Jim's household responsibilities is taking out the garbage and washing and drying the laundry. And I say washing and drying the laundry because I sort and I fold, he washes and he dries. Like that's, you know, he doesn't just do laundry. So taking out the garbage, I think that's most husbands' jobs. Not everybody's, but obviously. So last night a storm was coming. A huge storm was coming. I actually got some videotape of it. And I was like, oh, let me go get yesterday was garbage day. So I was like, oh, let me go bring in the garbage can and the recycling bins because they'll be soaked. He'll be soaked trying to bring them in. And I was like, let me see. It's just starting to rain. And I got out there and it was not even raining yet. It was just like, the wind was blowing where it sounded like rain. It was so weird. So I just got into the carport, got back in, sat down, washed my hands, changed the garbage bags. Like I did a few things. And then I sat down, and as soon as I sat down, it was like, psh, 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 and I was like, oh, that was good timing. So he came home, and I'm like, did you see what I did? And he's like, no, because you're sitting in the dark. And I was like, no, it was outside. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, did you bring in the garbage cans? And he goes, oh. And that is something that almost never happens. I feel like lately I've had to be like, point out the things that I do while he's at work. Because he only, like, I don't know if it's just men or if it's him specifically or if it's just people who don't do the work. Or I don't really know why this happens, but if he doesn't see me do it, he doesn't know it's done. If he doesn't, like, what am I trying to say? He only notices it when it's not done. That's what I'm trying to say. So, like, if the sink is empty, he won't be like, oh, thank you for cleaning up the kitchen today or all the work you did around the house. But if I leave dishes in the sink, or if the dishes, I don't leave dishes in the sink. If the dishwasher is clean and not put away, there will be dishes in the sink. We rinse them and put them on the left side. Oh, I left myself a stitch. I'm sorry. So, he won't say, you know, oh, thank you for doing the dishes. He will say, is the dishwasher dirty? Like, you know, whatever passive aggressive thing he gets from his mom. But anyhow, I think that's one of those things. I don't point it out to him. I'm definitely not going to point it out to you guys, of all the things that I do for him. But I'm happy to brag on all the things that he does for me. I am. I also, with that comes along the lines of complaining about the things that he doesn't do. Or the things that he does not right. So let's go back to the dishwasher, because that was what today's vlog was going to be about. I asked in my last video, or one of my last videos, about who has a specific way of loading the dishwasher. And you guys, tons of comments poured out. Thank you so much for commenting that I'm not alone. But I wanted to tell you that I explained to him why. This is important because not just sometimes having issues, I don't want to say control issues, but having issues like when you need something done specifically, if the person knows why, then they can understand. Maybe they'll take that extra step. Maybe. So what I said to him was, I have more energy when I'm loading the dishes. No, that's not right. Yes. Okay, wait. No. It takes less effort to load the dishes. That's what I was trying to say. So it takes less effort to load the dishes. I can, while I'm loading the dishes, if I organize them in a certain way, I have that energy because I'm only putting away 4 dishes and 3 bowls or whatever it is, like serving bowls and then a platter and 3 dishes or whatever it is. When I finish my coffee cup, 1 coffee cup gets rinsed and put in the dishwasher. But when I go to empty the dishwasher, it's all the dishes that are in there. So I have to put away 7 coffee mugs, 3 glasses, 47 pieces of plastic. Then I have to put away 8 plates, 9 bowls, servingware, platter, and all the silverware at once. So for me, and I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it is easier to do that when I have all my dinner plates together. I think I mentioned this in the before, but if you haven't seen it, I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I can grab all the dinner plates together, and then all the plates that go on top of them, and then all the bowls that go on top of them, and all the bowls that go on top of them. And then I grab the silverware caddy, and I can walk all those dishes together. It's going to take me more energy to unload the dishwasher because I'm doing it all at once, which is fine. If I have to pick and pick and pick and pick and like bend over, I have to pick and pick and pick that kind of plate and pick in that kind of plate or pick in that kind of plate. Or if I tag them all unpicked and then I have to go and sort them. That's going to take more energy when I need that energy to finish the entire dishwasher. So that's why I explained to him, and that's why I'm explaining to you and anybody who is having that same issue and their family is not. If you maybe just can explain to them why, not just a blank statement of the dishes get cleaner this way, because that's also a matter of personal preference or opinion sometimes. Depends on the dishwasher. Some people it's habit because this is the way my mom taught me to do it. You know, but tell them this is why. This is why I do these things. And if your husband out there, if you're talking to your husband and he keeps always doing this one thing, this one way, ask him, why do you do that way? So I'm going to go now because this is an hour. We are not supposed to be talking for an hour. And I love you guys. And I really enjoyed this morning. And I'm about to go have fish and chips for breakfast. But when your husband works, the schedule he works, sometimes you got to sacrifice. And as always, you guys take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Bye.